All right, let's dive into something huge today. How did one of the most powerful and longest-lasting empires in history, the Ottoman Empire, actually get its start? Now, you might think that's a simple question with a simple answer, but as you're about to see, its origin story is one fascinating puzzle.
I mean, think about it for a second. When you imagine the beginning of a massive empire or a new country, what pops into your head? It's usually some big, dramatic event you can stick a pin in on a timeline, right? Exactly. Most founding stories have a legendary battle that completely shifts the balance of power, or maybe a formal declaration of independence that makes a clean break with the past. One single history-making day.
But the Ottoman story, well, it just doesn't fit that mold. Its official beginning isn't marked by some clear-cut historical event. Instead, it's all wrapped up in symbols, in storytelling, and honestly, a whole lot of debate among historians. So let's start peeling back the layers of this mystery.
So, the official year for the founding of the Ottoman Empire is 1299. But the reason this specific date was chosen, well, it is almost certainly not what you'd guess.
What actually went down in 1299? Was there some epic victory, a big coronation, a declaration? The shocking answer is, none of the above. Seriously, there's no major, verifiable historical event that happened that year. So, why on earth was this date chosen?
The whole reason for the date comes down to a simple, almost poetic coincidence. You see, as the year 1299 was ending in the Christian calendar, turning into 1300, the Islamic calendar was turning from the year 699 to 700. It was a perfect turn-of-the-century moment for both of the region's major calendars. How cool is that? This symbolic alignment was just too good to pass up as a starting point.
Okay, but a symbolic date isn't enough, right? You need a powerful story to go along with it, something to give it real meaning and legitimacy. And this is where we get the official origin story, the one the Ottomans themselves told. And it doesn't start on a battlefield, but in the mind of its founder, Osman, while he was asleep.
So, the story goes like this. Osman is crashing at the home of a really well-respected holy man named Edebali. And in his dream, he sees a moon rising right out of Edebali's chest. Then, this moon travels across the room and sinks right into Osman's own chest. It's this incredibly powerful symbol, like a transfer of destiny or divine right. And from that moment, this massive tree just sprouts from Osman's body. It grows and grows until its branches cast a shadow over the entire world, with mountains and rivers flowing from its roots.
When Osman wakes up and tells Edebali the dream, the holy man gets it instantly. And this is where the story is just politically brilliant. It serves two purposes. First, it gives Osman God's blessing to rule. And second, it connects his family line directly to Edebali's by marriage. In a world full of rival warlords, a story like this wasn't just folklore. It was a killer political move.
It's an incredible story, right? But for historians, there's one big problem with it. And that problem is all about time.
So here's the kicker. The dream supposedly happened around the year 1300, but the first time anyone actually wrote it down, that wasn't until around 1450. That's a full 150 years later. Because of this huge gap, a lot of early Western historians just threw it out, calling it a fake story made up later to make the empire look good.
But today, historians have a much more sophisticated take on it. They realized that for the Turkic tribes back then, history wasn't just about what was written down. It was passed down through oral traditions, epics, songs, stories told around the fire from one generation to the next. That's how they kept their records, and it's now seen as a totally valid way of preserving history. So the story could absolutely be authentic, even if it took a century and a half to get put on paper.
So what about some hard proof, some cold, verifiable evidence that Osman was real and was building power? For that, we actually have to stop looking at Ottoman stories and start looking through the records of their biggest rival.
And boom, there it is. In the year 1301, Byzantine chronicles mention a battle against a rising Turkish tribal leader, and his name, Osman. This is it. This is the first time Osman shows up in a contemporary, non-Ottoman historical record. It's the concrete proof that by 1301, this guy was a real threat and a serious military leader.
Okay, so now we have all the pieces of the puzzle on the table. A symbolic date, a powerful myth, that 150-year gap in the written record, and finally, a confirmed historical event. So how do we fit it all together to solve the mystery?
Well, the logic kind of works like this. That battle in 1301 proves Osman was already a big deal. You don't just wake up one day and challenge the Byzantine Empire, right? His tribe must have already been organized and growing for a while before 1301. And that makes the symbolic date of 1299, just 2 years earlier, a totally plausible starting point for this new, ambitious chapter.
So, in the end, the foundation of the Ottoman Empire isn't just one thing you can circle on a calendar. It's this complex and beautiful tapestry, woven from a powerful founding myth that gave them legitimacy, a symbolic date that marked a new beginning, and the hard, historical fact of a leader who was strong enough for his enemies to write about him.
And all this leaves us with one final thought to chew on. What really forges an empire's identity? Is it the cold, verifiable fact of a battle? Or is it the powerful, unifying story that inspires a people for hundreds of years? The origin of the Ottoman Empire seems to suggest you really need a little bit of both.